Welcome to Raw Female,
a podcast that offers an unfiltered look at women in midlife.
We're your hosts, Kris
and Allie.
Hey, Al, I'm super excited to have Wendy Euler on our show.
Here's what I loved about this interview. It's all about style. And I've been in a soft pant for a year, so I desperately needed this conversation. She had such great hacks and takeaways.
Yes, she did. She did. And for those of you who don't know her, she's actually the force behind Goodbye Croptop.
Yeah, and she's done a great job. She's got a big social media follow. She actually launched her own podcast as well.
Yes, check it out. It's awesome. She has some great guests. And I loved her positive attitude.
She had a good positive
this
attitude.
Whole notion of midlife as your superpower.
So
I'm latching on to that.
Let's hear it.
And the need for some good basics.
Let's get to the interview. So Wendy and I have known each other for a long time.
Yep.
And it's actually been really nice seeing all the changes that we've been going through over the years. But I think your biggest one is with Goodbye Croptop.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us, what is it?
It's changed from when I started this little thing. So I'll just walk you through it. So what it is, I grew tired in my late 40s of going down the rabbit holes of 30-somethings and furthermore 20-somethings trying to grasp onto a little fashion or a little inspiration. And that was exhausting. And then there was a group of women who, at 50 are still trying to look 30, and that was exhausting. And then there was a group of women who were just throwing in the towel, in their 40s and 50s and giving up.
I've seen a lot of that still.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing a place, if you will, out there that supported middle-aged women being fucking awesome and still hip. And, furthermore, coming into the best times of our lives.
Right.
So,
both in fashion and attitude.
Everything.
Right.
But the first point of entry for you was originally fashion, but it seems like it's expanded after that.
I think it was style, but I think
or style. We're going to get to the I want to talk about that.
Yeah, it was style, but it was with style comes depth. It does. And a self-awareness. And so I think from the beginning I love to write. And I was writing a lot of essays and publishing those at the time. So I wanted to write to inspire women to not only look their best, but be their best and feel their best. Because, it is kind of a chicken and egg thing. I mean, you can be feeling pretty shitty and put something fun and good on and suddenly go, okay, this is kind of turning me around. Or you can, it's sort of it can be either or, but I think it's all got to be there. It's all got to be there.
What is the difference between style and fashion in your head?
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. And fashion is an industry. And fashion can make someone feel really bad about themselves. Fashion is because you're doing it because everyone else is doing it. Because it's a trend, and style is your own. Style makes you feel good. Tapping into your personal style, which, some do young, but many of us finally do later, whether that's out of necessity for being comfortable. And I don't mean going to like elastic waistbands, but, style
Which have their place. I'm going to just.
Well,
okay. No.
Kris is the queen.
There's some. Okay. We'll go into Elaine Kim.
We'll go back to
That's
that.
true.
Allie introduced me to Elaine Kim. I got to say,
Oh, I like Elaine Kim.
Okay.
She's a great
All right.
designer
But
in
you're right.
LA.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Just for the audience, though, if they
a slippery slope.
just for the audience, that there are some designers that are doing that well.
Right.
I think
Exactly.
Right.
Okay,
Especially during the pandemic. Okay.
Well,
So we've
soft
got
pants.
yeah.
I love a
So-
soft pant.
Yep.
And I have no problem with that. But style and fashion, there's a very clear line between the two. And I want to encourage women to tap into their own thing, their own style. You know, don't wear something because other people are wearing it. Wear it because it puts a spring in your step and you feel better and it's you.
Right. So, Wendy, what are the principles of your personal style and also Goodbye Croptop?
Yeah, they're one and the same. My principles are simple. I think it's less is more and wear what you're comfortable in. Wear what you're comfortable in. And that just means if you're comfortable in more, I live in Montana. So if you're comfortable in more Western attire and that makes you feel good, you're going to wear that well and you're going to have a spring in your step and you're going to look good. And if you're comfortable in a pair of sweatpants with a blazer and some heels and that look, which I personally love coming out of the pandemic. I think that's kind of a look that's going to stick. Wear that if that makes you feel good. So I think that's it. I think keep it simple, keep it to the basics and be comfortable in it.
It seems that too, you're intersecting with quality, because a lot of the stuff that I read that you post has a lot of conversation around the quality of what you're purchasing. So you can have it has a longer shelf life in general. Is that still part of your
Cost per wear?
100%.
Yeah. Cost per wear.
Yeah.
Speak to that a little bit.
That's it. I talk a lot about CPW, which is cost per wear. I believe, rather than having 6 of something that are inexpensive because they were inexpensive, have one great cashmere sweater or 2 that'll last you 10 years. And that's part of the key to having basics and keeping it simple, is that you buy once, you buy well, and keep those basics forever. Now, I think it's okay to have a couple of things that are fleeting in your wardrobe, I'm also about sustainability and, that it's all tied together. But I do think cost per wear, look at how many times you're going to wear it versus all the shit that's sitting in your closet that you never wear.
So I want to go into a hack for a second. I totally love my sister. We have completely different styles. Neither one of us are into fashion.
What?
Fashion and style are 2 different things.
Okay.
God, we just qualified that. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
We have
fine.
2 different styles. Okay. Neither one of us are big into fashion. And what I see as my sister's style is just a little worrisome. And I'll tell you why. Because I see a Teva soft pant combined with a shirt that had spots and stains on it.
That's a
that
problem.
Was worn for several days in a row.
Well, that's
and I was
true.
getting nervous that something bigger was happening here that I needed to get on top of
By the
immediately.
way,
I'm nervous. I'm nervous if the shirt had spots and stains on it, what the underpants look like under there.
She wasn't wearing any.
With the pants.
I thought this was a 911 situation for emotional. We needed a therapist on site. I was getting worried.
Okay,
and then she just said, "No, let me finish." Then she said to me in the end, "No, I just, I didn't have time. I don't care." And
Wendy,
I'd like to hear what Wendy would say.
Well, you're not going to like this, Allie. You're not going to like this, Allie.
Shut the hell up,
Kris,
Allie.
Well, always. Just kidding. Kris, it is your time to shine, because Tevas are in fashion right now. Sweatpants are in fashion right now. I'd say lose the t-shirt with stains on it. Let's
handled all of those stains.
Well, here's a style hack, okay? Throw on your Tevas. Make sure your toes look decent. Throw on your Tevas. put on some gray sweatpants, pull them up a little bit around the ankles, and throw on a big white men's shirt, pop that collar a little bit, put on some jewelry, and you're golden. That's your style
cute.
hack.
I like that look for you.
I can handle that. I got everything like that in my closet.
You can
I think I was
and
thrown
here's
off by
another
the
style hack.
stains. That made me worry.
Stains gotta go, but
That made me
Tevas are
worry.
in. I'm
okay,
not.
Tevas are in.
Tevas are in. I cannot say with good conscience that the Keens are in, but the Tevas are in.
Tevas are in. Well, Birkenstocks are in,
Absolutely.
and I wear those with a little sock now.
So here's
which
my
I feel
style
like I'm
hack
turning
for
into
Kris.
Grandpa.
Here's my
dad.
style hack for Kris.
Okay.
Yes.
And even when you're going out to dinner, and I'm not kidding, throw those Tevas on, little gray sweats or black, pull them up around the ankle, put your white men's shirt on, raid your husband's closet. Another great hack that women are totally missing out on. Raid your husband's closet. Because the big oversized blazers are in.
Love that.
Don't buy one. Pull one out of your husband's closet. Put that on and throw on a cool handbag. Throw a cool handbag on and a good lipstick. And
That
you're
is a great
ready
idea for you, Kris.
Allie will be
And me
seen
too.
with you, I promise, in that look.
I feel like shoes and bags will, I love investing in those pieces because I feel like I can get far with those.
You have gorgeous.
Well, there you go.
I have great bags, but I do need to pull it all together.
for
You did. Okay.
I just said this on a recent podcast, and I think people lose sight of the basics, the very basic things, right? So I'm a big believer in everything starts from the inside out. Everything does. So are you eating well? Are you moving your body? Are you taking care of yourself? And that just means sleeping. Like, are you drinking your water? Everyone's looking for this quick fix for a better body or a body they'll never have or and because of everything that's thrown at us every day with advertising and this and that and Instagram and all these images of how we're supposed to look and how we're supposed to be, it's suffocating and it's paralyzing. And I think because of all that, so many people lose sight of the basics. Move your body, drink your water, eat well, sleep when you can. That's hard for some, I know. And hang around.
Oh, this
and hang
menopausal
around
sleep thing.
with great people who make you feel good about yourself. Do not hang around with assholes. Do not be married to an asshole. Do not have friends that are assholes. Do not let your kids be assholes to you. And if you're doing those basic things, whatever you put on is somehow going to feel good. And I've seen it happen, right? I've seen this happen because it's really more about a feeling, isn't it? Rather than a look, and here's what I'm trying to say. I can look at the mirror and think, oh my God, I look terrible. I'm bloated. I'm this, I'm that. I look exactly the same. I look exactly the same as I did 6 months ago to everyone around me. It's you. It's your perception. It's a feeling.
But also style comes from that feeling, don't you think? I think everything about your personal style, and it doesn't have to just be clothes. Everything that comes from your personal style comes from exactly what you're saying, Wendy. That feeling about yourself. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Then you start putting things on that kind of represent that feeling that you have.
Right. Wendy,
so what makes you think, Kris, that putting on a spotted T-shirt is what's going on inside?
Well, if we want to drill down on that, I'm going to tell you how this whole spotted T-shirt came about. Okay, so what happened with the spotted T-shirt is I cook a lot with olive oil.
Okay, pasta granny. Okay, pasta granny.
From the olive oil, and I actually proactively embraced it and told my sister, "Oh my God, look at me! This T-shirt is symbolizing how I've kind of just emotionally hit rock bottom in terms of what you're talking about style reflecting sort of an inner life." Mm-hmm. And I realized that, and I was the one who brought it up to Allie. I didn't realize that it was going to take on this life, but
Well,
it was a symbol of that. And actually it was a one-time wear.
It was a one-time thing. You quickly pivot out of
did.
it. But I do feel like there was an intersection. This speaks to your company, Wendy, that there was this intersection of you, Kris, going through this midlife kind of on, I think it was right before you were going through menopause, right? Mm-hmm. Right before she was going through menopause. It was almost like you were exuding that on the outside. And I could see it super clearly, but I think it took you a minute to like get your head around what was going on. I'm like, wow, this is a really interesting case study on a woman. Well, right.
It was.
It
and I actually think it also was this, like, it was like this turning point. Like I looked at myself and I'm like, wow, do I want to be that person who's walking around with the olive oil stain on my shirt?
We'll call that the SOS.
It was just
SOS.
Well, but it's a precursor to this idea of reinvention.
Let me say this. Yeah.
Wendy, talk about that. Because you have done a lot in this space.
I want to finish this conversation because I say this often, that style, what you're wearing, how you're presenting yourself to the world outwardly it's a barometer of where you are in your life.
I totally agree.
In what way? Well, I'll use an example of myself. So, for instance, after my second daughter was born, and it sounds funny and there are very funny aspects of it, but I gained 85 pounds with my second daughter, 70 with the first, 85 and 70 again with the, So, and after the second, I was sad. I was in an unhappy marriage. I had definitely probably a little bit of postpartum, and I'm talking for months, like a long time after, going on. And I would wear these overalls with stains on them that one side of it popped off. And I remember, like you, Kris, looking in the mirror going, wow, like that's where I am. Like that's where I am emotionally with my, and one day I remember one morning waking up going, all right, Wendy, pull your bootstraps up. We're going to get back on this train and we're going to, you're going to start making some better choices. But that was a big barometer for me. And it still is, and especially like it's hard during these lockdowns and this pandemic, because talk about a barometer of where you are. I mean, I would look at myself in the mirror some days over this past year and just go, who are you? I mean, stains for days. And like, did I put deodorant on today?
Yes.
I haven't brushed my teeth in a couple of days. There's a raspberry seed, whatever.
Right.
But style and how you present yourself outwardly is a barometer of where you are in your life. And that's what I mean. It's your t-shirt. Right. It's my overalls. And I understand that style is not the end all be all for some people, but even those people have the same feeling and they feel better in certain things on certain days than others, if that makes any sense.
Right. That makes complete sense.
So how are you? Okay. So now we're still in the pandemic and lockdowns and all of that. How are you, creating healthy habits?
Well, I'm in Montana. You're in San Francisco. So the freedoms are, a bit greater here than there. Still not running willy nilly, but a little more room to breathe here than where you are. But I will say this, when the pandemic hit a year ago and we went into the first lockdown, it was like, it was like a fraternity party in my house. Like we were going hard. I mean, it was nachos and drinking and this and that. And, because it felt like the world was ending to me and to all of us. And
agreed. I think we were doing
well,
the same.
If that's the case, I'm going to have some nachos, make it like with some carnitas on that shit and every double down on the margaritas.
Double down.
And I came out of that in July, March to July. And July one day I looked in the mirror and I wept. I started crying. My face was swollen. My hands were swollen. My clothes didn't fit. I had gained 17 pounds in 4 months. And not to focus too much on weight, but when none of your clothes fit you, it's a little bit alarming.
Well, and also you probably physically felt.
I wasn't exercising, and and last July, I looked at my husband. I said, "We both need to do something drastic to get back on track." So we did. So we gave up booze for 4 months. We gave up crappy food. We exercised every day, and we just made a commitment to do that. And
right.
You know, after those 3 or 4 months, I sort of started feeling better again. So it's like the things you can do, you still can go for a walk. You still can decide what food goes in your mouth. You still can, you know, and I'd probably do that all over again because that's where I was at the time. That's what it looked like. Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of us were emotionally, right? We were trying to self-soothe on some, I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of us were self-soothing in some level, and we all do it differently. But I think the common thread with the three of us, we were all
I should
doing
have been
that
self-soothing on some kale chips instead of the nachos.
Probably me too, but so outside of the pandemic though, because we're all roughly around the same age, as you're aging, what healthy lifestyle hacks or choices are you doing for yourself? I mean, obviously I read stuff on your Instagram about it, but it'd be good to hear it.
I think this goes back to the basics again. Like, I feel like if I'm doing all the basics and not buying into gimmicks and not looking at everyone else around me, and not just, if I'm doing my basics, you know, which does include movement. I move every day. Exercise is important to me, especially as I'm aging. I don't feel good unless I'm sweating and moving and lifting weights and all that. So I think, you know, in my 50s, I'm eating a lot less than I used to. I have to, you know, and you don't understand that till you get there. But
it's so true.
You know, I'm not hanging out with anyone who doesn't light my fire and that I don't in return. I think that's a huge part of it, whether it's a Zoom call or whatever we have to do these days. But that's part of it. I think, look, spas are great and massage is great and all that stuff. But I have a philosophy that I try to do the little things every day so I don't need those big breaks. Because what happens is when I'm really run down or beat up and I go, I need some self-care, and I go for a 2-hour massage and a facial, it's almost a letdown afterwards. And I'm like, what? Like, now I'm just going to go back to feeling terrible again. Like those, hopefully I'm articulating this well, but I try to live my life every day in a way that I don't need a break from it.
I hear you on that.
Well, isn't that so in other words, what you're saying is every day you are putting self-care, right? Because all of those things that you listed are really about self-care. And I think as women, I'm just going to say this out loud. Our 20s, 30s, and even 40s, a woman we were doing everything. We're working, we're raising kids. Look, the data is out there that women have been overdoing to some higher bar that's up there. And I think the nice thing about 50 plus, and I'm hearing a little bit of this in this conversation, is that we have the runway ahead and behind us. We can look and go, oh, no. I need to take care of this. What am I doing? I need to make sure that I'm self-caring every day, not the once a week or twice a month at the spa, but every single day.
That's it.
And why did it take, well, everybody probably has their own answer for this, but I think as a collective, why did it take women to be in their 50s to get to that point? We all have daughters on this call, right? I have one, Kris has one, and you have 3. What are we all doing collectively to get our daughters to that point earlier? This is something I'm thinking about a lot right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, my daughters are thinking about things earlier, and they are way ahead of where I ever was or hope to be at their age. And, a few things. Like, I think that just in the past 3 years after starting Goodbye Croptop, they've seen me sort of reinvent, recreate. They have been through a hard divorce with me when they were little, 6 and 8, my 2 older daughters. And then we now have the 6-year-old. But, they've been through a lot. And I think this. So hopefully this answers your question. I had the courage to leave a bad marriage, and it was really, really hard to do. And you were with me through that, through all of that. Both of you knew me through that. And I think a lot of people sit in unhealthy relationships or bad marriages or whatever's going on around them for the kids. I'm staying for the kids. I'm staying for the kids. So let's start with that. I'll just start with 10 years ago. It was the hardest thing to do, but guess what? I showed them that I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to sit in an unhappy, sexless marriage that's not meant to be forever. I'm going to get out there and live my life. And furthermore, I was lucky enough to meet the love of my life. And now they've seen what love is. So there's that gift. And I think a lot of where I'm going with this is I think a lot of, generations before us, women didn't have a lot of choices. A lot of women weren't working. A lot of women had stayed home. And that's still the case today. I'm watching a lot of women try to get back on their feet. And that's a whole other podcast about what's going on there. But, I had a choice. I had opportunity. I took it. I left. So that's one. And then starting over with my career at 49, 50 years old, starting this movement to help women, and it was recently just my birthday, and my older daughters wrote me cards and just said, watching you do this for other women is so great, Mom, and we're so proud of you. And so things like that, that's what we're doing differently is modeling and
that behavior so they can see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
Life is hard, and life gets harder. It doesn't get easier. It gets way fucking harder. But the choice is that we get better and we tap into this middle age as our superpower. We are wiser. We are finally listening to that intuition, to that gut, to that fire that tells us to do something or not do something. I ignored my intuition for decades. I think
a lot of us
pushed
have,
that right
honestly.
under the rug. And because I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do. And I think for me, what I'm noticing and what I've taught my daughters is to make hard choices. It's nothing good comes easy. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that.
You reinventing yourself in public through Goodbye Croptop, because that's what basically it is. And you're taking all these different turns and you're basically creating in public. That's what you're doing. You're making mistakes. You're making headway. You're having amazing interviews with amazing people. You're growing as an artist. And it's all in public.
It's terrifying.
So you're putting yourself out there.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. You're vulnerable.
I'm terrified.
You're scared, but yet something is allowing you to do that. And, what is that?
Yeah, I think you finally, at least my hope is for people. And I have finally gotten to a point in my life where if I'm not scared, I'm not living. If I don't wake up every day and have something to do that terrifies me in some way, I'm not living. It's boring. But I'm scared every day. And I finish every one of my podcasts and I go, Jesus, did I fuck up? How was it? Did I answer my questions? Did I, and don't we all? But I think we just all come together and go, we all feel that way. We're,
Right.
And
Right.
So can you talk a little, so you've got, just so I can clarify like the different parts of your company, just for everybody that's listening. Goodbye Croptop, you're mainly on Instagram, but you also just launched a podcast a few months ago.
well, the podcast is Keeping It Simple, Goodbye Croptop. And the 3 pillars that we refer back to are just that: reinvention, recreation, and resilience. And I want Goodbye Croptop to be a place of inspiration, a place where women leave feeling better with actionable items they can actually, use.
Are there any other themes that are coming across your, airways with women in midlife?
Sex.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's one and the same with menopause,
All right? Now
right?
me,
Like painful sex and all this stuff that comes along with menopause, or is it something different?
Let's ask her what kind of questions are coming about sex.
All kinds of questions. And I've just dropped my first episode with our new sex and intimacy expert, who will also be coming on regularly, Zoe Coors. So that's up for your ears and available.
So can I ask you the one burning last question, which is, what is the one product or service that you can't live without? It actually doesn't even have to be a product or service. It could just be something that fulfills you, that you just can't live without.
Oh my God. I don't know how to narrow that down.
Give us, you can give us more than one.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. Top line it.
I mean, at the risk of sounding superficial or shallow, and I don't know why I have to put qualifiers around everything I say, but movement and exercise, I can't live without that. I have to have my time of moving. I do a lot of yoga. I do the Peloton a lot. I walk a lot. And I do heavy weights now a couple times a week, which I also think as we age is very, very important to lift weights. Product wise, I mean, I've tried so many products as far as like skincare and that goes. I think first and foremost, I believe that you are what you drink and you are what you eat. And I furthermore believe in good topical care, and the product that there are so many I like, but Vintner's Daughter, both products from Vintner's Daughter are my absolute go-tos for skincare. They brighten my face if I need, they make me feel good. Yeah. And
I love that.
And I'm realizing another essential is community, and to be with friends and people you love. And now more than ever, I know that. So I think that that's going to be something that fuels us all as we see the light at the end of the tunnel here and emerge from this shit fucking show.
Oh, I know.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Raw Female Podcast and join our mailing list at rawfemale.com.